The Indiana Fever just pulled off something that nobody thought was possible, and Kelsey Mitchell's post-game comments are sending shockwaves through the entire WNBA. Without Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and 3 other key players, they absolutely demolished the Minnesota Lynx in a statement win that has everyone questioning what we thought we knew about this team. What Mitchell revealed in that locker room might just change everything about how we see the Fever's championship chances. If you're here for the shocking truth about what's really happening in Indiana, smash that like button right now because this story is about to blow your mind. Here's what makes this even crazier. The Fever were missing 5 rotation players, including their superstar Caitlin Clark, who's been carrying this franchise on her back all season. Sophie Cunningham was out too, along with Sydney Colson, Chloe Bibby, and Erica Wheeler. That's basically half their roster gone. Most teams would have rolled over and accepted defeat, but Indiana came out and dropped a 10-0 run on Minnesota to start the game. The Lynx called timeout looking completely stunned while the Fever bench was going absolutely insane. But that wasn't even the most shocking part of the night. After the game, Kelsey Mitchell walked into that locker room and said something that had her teammates literally jumping up and down. She looked around at everyone and declared that this team doesn't need sympathy or excuses anymore. They're not underdogs, they're not Cinderella stories, they're legitimate championship contenders who just proved they can beat anyone on any given night. The way she said it, the conviction in her voice, it was like watching a switch flip for this entire organization. What happened next would leave everyone speechless. Mitchell then revealed that the team had been preparing for this exact scenario for weeks. They knew injuries might hit, they knew they'd face adversity, but instead of panicking, they'd been secretly running practice rotations with different lineup combinations all season long. Coach Stephanie White had apparently been drilling them on adaptability since day one, telling them to be where your feet are and stop worrying about who's not available. This wasn't luck, this was preparation meeting opportunity in the most spectacular way possible. The numbers from this game are absolutely mind-blowing when you really break them down. Aliyah Boston grabbed 16 rebounds, tying her career high, while basically playing point center at times. She was bringing the ball up the court, making passes that guards usually make, and still dominating the paint on both ends. Odyssey Sims came off the bench and dropped 15 points like she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment. After the game, she called it a fresh start and said the new season starts now, which is exactly the energy this team needed heading into the playoffs. But here's where it gets really interesting. Aerial Powers, who most fans probably couldn't even name 2 weeks ago, hit back-to-back 3-pointers in the 4th quarter that basically ended the game. The Lynx were making a run, cutting the lead down, and then boom, Powers drains 2 straight from deep, and you could see the life just drain out of Minnesota's bench. Even without Caitlin Clark on the floor to celebrate, the Fever bench went absolutely ballistic. That's when you knew something special was happening with this team. The transformation of Lexi Hull has been one of the most underrated storylines of this entire season. She's gone from being a role player to someone who can guard 4 different positions and still contribute offensively without needing plays called for her. Against the Lynx, she was switching onto their best scorers, contesting shots against players 6 inches taller, and still finding ways to score in transition. This is exactly the type of player championship teams need, someone who does all the dirty work without complaining about touches or minutes. What makes this even more impressive is that Indiana has now won 3 straight games against playoff teams while missing key players. They're not just surviving without their stars, they're actually thriving and playing some of their best basketball of the season. The chemistry they're building right now, the confidence they're gaining, it's all happening at the perfect time as the playoffs approach. Mitchell's 2025 season has been absolutely historic and nobody's talking about it enough. She's averaging career highs across the board while adjusting to playing alongside Caitlin Clark and now proving she can carry the team when Clark's not available. The leadership she's showing, the way she's elevating everyone around her, it's exactly what Indiana needed to take that next step from good team to championship contender. But that's not even the whole story. Sources close to the team are saying that this injury situation might have been the best thing that could have happened to the Fever. It forced them to discover their depth, to trust players who hadn't gotten major minutes before, and to prove to themselves that they're more than just a 1 or 2 player team. When Clark and Cunningham come back, they're returning to a team that now knows it can win without them, which takes all the pressure off and allows everyone to play more freely. The psychological impact of beating Minnesota without your best players cannot be overstated. The Lynx are one of the best teams in the league. They were fighting for playoff positioning, and Indiana just walked into their building and punched them in the mouth from the opening tip. That's the kind of win that changes a locker room's entire mentality. Suddenly, you're not hoping to compete. You're expecting to win every single night, regardless of who's available. What's really fascinating is how Stephanie White has managed this situation. She could have made excuses, could have lowered expectations, but instead she challenged every single player to step up and prove they belong. The way she's gotten buy-in from the entire roster, from the stars to the 15th player on the bench, it's masterful coaching that deserves way more recognition than it's getting. Natasha Howard's performance was another huge factor that's being overlooked. She shot an incredible percentage from the field, grabbed crucial rebounds, and gave Boston the help she needed in the front court. Her ability to stretch the floor while still being physical inside created matchup nightmares for Minnesota. This is a player who's won championships before, and you can see that experience showing up when the team needs it most. The energy in that locker room after the game was unlike anything we've seen from Indiana in years. Players were hugging, crying, celebrating like they just won a playoff series. Mitchell later said that this win meant more than just another regular season victory. It was validation that everything they've been working toward, all the chemistry they've been building, it's real and it's sustainable. Here's something that'll shock you even more. The Fever's defensive rating over these last 3 games without their stars has actually been better than their season average. They're communicating better, rotating faster, and playing with a desperation that wasn't always there when they had their full roster. It's like losing those players forced everyone else to lock in defensively because they knew they couldn't just outscore opponents. The impact on the younger players has been absolutely game-changing. Grace Berger, who barely played earlier in the season, is suddenly getting real minutes and contributing in meaningful ways. She's learning what playoff intensity feels like before the actual playoffs begin. That experience is invaluable for a young player trying to establish herself in this league. What Mitchell said next in that locker room speech should terrify every other team in the WNBA. She looked at her teammates and said they haven't even played their best basketball yet. Think about that for a second. They just beat a championship contender without 5 key players, and Mitchell's saying they can play even better. If that doesn't make you excited about this team's potential, nothing will. The timing of this hot streak couldn't be better either. With just a few games left in the regular season, Indiana is peaking at exactly the right moment. They're building momentum, finding their identity, and proving they can win in multiple ways. Teams that get hot heading into the playoffs are always dangerous. But teams that overcome adversity and get hot are absolutely lethal. But here's the real kicker that nobody's talking about. When Caitlin Clark comes back, she's returning to a team that's completely transformed. The pressure isn't all on her shoulders anymore. Mitchell has proven she can be that #1 option. Boston has shown she can dominate games, and the role players have gained confidence that'll make them dangerous weapons in the playoffs. Clark can now pick her spots, play within the flow, and not feel like she has to do everything herself. The respect this team is earning around the league is palpable. Other coaches are starting to mention Indiana as a team nobody wants to face in the playoffs. Players are talking about how tough the Fever are to play against now. This isn't the same team that started the season. This is a battle-tested group that's been through the fire and come out stronger. Mitchell's leadership evolution has been the most underrated storyline of the entire WNBA season. She's gone from being a scorer to being a true leader who holds everyone accountable while also lifting them up. The way she's embraced playing alongside Clark instead of being threatened by the attention Clark gets shows incredible maturity and team-first mentality. What makes this even more impressive is that Indiana did all this on the road. They went into hostile environments, dealt with adversity, and still found ways to win. That's playoff basketball right there. When you can win on the road without your best players, you can win anywhere against anyone. That's a dangerous team heading into the postseason. The culture shift in Indiana is real, and it's sustainable. This isn't just a hot streak or a lucky run. They've fundamentally changed how they approach the game, how they prepare, and how they respond to challenges. That's the kind of transformation that leads to championships, not just playoff appearances. If you think this Fever team is done surprising people, drop a comment below with fire emojis, because what's coming next is going to be absolutely insane. And make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss what happens when Clark and Cunningham return to this transformed team. The WNBA playoffs are about to get very, very interesting.